Okay. All right. Hi, I'm Gina Koke. I'm with the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services.
And my name is Paul Murray. I'm with the Alliances, one of the representatives. Be sure to check the wonderful schedule for the exciting opportunities with this convention. Please stop by the Quill convention table over for the next few days to learn more. Thank you for joining us here. The session, the floor leader is yours.
All right. Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming in.
And this
Really
is from the Arc
appreciate
of
it.
Virginia, by the way,
Oh, well, thank you,
from Miss
Paul.
Gina.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm all excited about goodies, you know. All right. There's a handout of the slides up here on the front seat. I think if anybody didn't get one. So as he said, my name is Gina Koke, and I am the customized rate consultant. And I say the customized rate consultant because I am the only one right now. Have been the only one for the last couple of years. And yeah, I know that's always a shock to people who think we have this big, huge department running things. I'm the only customized rate consultant.
In the state?
In the state. Yeah. So my boss is Carrie Ottoson, and she is the department leader. Can't think of her actual title right this second for some reason. Might say on there. But she was unable to be here today. She was going to come and help answer some questions for anybody who had them. But yeah, so I'm the only one. It's me and Carrie, and then we have a processor, and that's it. So when sometimes people apply for the customized rate, you know, it can take a little time because it's just the three of us. So we are hoping to have another person come on soon, but it hasn't happened just yet. So I'm going to talk about what the customized rate is just real quick. I mean, I know a lot of people know. Uh-oh. There we go. Oh, here we go. Okay. So I'm going to save plenty of time for questions afterwards, because I'm finding that a lot of people have a lot of things to say, or comments, questions, or whatever. So basically, what is a waiver? What is the customized rate? What does it cover? What does it do? How to apply? And then we'll go over the questions. So most of you know what a waiver is, but I'm just going to step back a little bit and talk about how prior to 1980, all Medicaid funded services for people with disabilities took place in institutions. So, and it was because of a young lady by the name of Katie Beckett, her family. Do you all know about Katie Beckett? Anybody in here know about? Okay, a couple people, but she was a young lady who was born and she had some encephalitis, I believe it was, happened to her when she was a few years old. And so the family was trying to get services for her, but they could only get those services in an institutional setting because that was the law back then and the way that Medicaid was handled back then. So the parents who were more than willing to take care of their daughter at home had to choose either an institutional setting like a hospital or another institutional setting such as a what is it called, nursing home. So they were in the news a lot. President Reagan found out about them, and he actually instituted the Katie Beckett Waiver into law. And so what was done with that is that at that point, a law was signed saying that these services could be given out in the community. So if it wasn't for Katie Beckett and her family, we wouldn't have that right now. I'm sure somebody else would have come along at some point. But so what is being waived? Well, what is being waived is that someone has to be in the institutional setting. So the funds can be used anywhere in the community. So fast forward a bunch, and partly as a result of the DOJ settlement, which we were just hearing a whole lot about in the lunch session, and because it's the right thing to do, and many people felt it was the right thing to do, Virginia redesigned the waiver system, which many of us know about, in 2014 and 2016. So during the waiver redesign, people realized that the reimbursement rates were good for I would say the majority, most people receiving services, but not all, because you have some people that we call outliers. These are people whose support needs outweigh the supports that are given to the general population. So if you know anything about a bell curve, you know, you got your majority of people in the hump of the bell, and then you've got your outliers on either end, right? So as a result of that, these outliers were identified as people who have highly complex medical and or highly complex behavioral support needs. So those support needs are going to increase the costs of the supports being provided in the community. Makes sense, right? So for those types of individuals who have severe support needs, or complex, probably a nicer way to say it, is that you need people who have extra training and have more experience than just somebody coming in from college or from working somewhere else, right? So in an effort to support these individuals identified as outliers, customized rate was developed by CMS, which is the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services. How many of you are familiar with CMS? Okay, good. So that the customized rate became effective as of June 1st in 2017. So just a little background, since 2017, DBHDS had to appoint someone to start the program, and that would be my supervisor, Carrie Ottoson. She was tasked with putting together what it's going to be, what is it going to look like, but in conjunction with DMAS, to say these are the kinds of things that we are saying as part of the whole system. And so Carrie was responsible for kind of putting together provider guide, and she worked with the people at DMAS and within our own agency, DBHDS, to come up with this provider guide and the regulations, okay? So the customized rate is a higher reimbursement rate than the standard rate. The customized rate is funded by the waiver. It is based on the person's level and tier. So a lot of times when people call me to ask about things, I'll say, what's the level? And they want to immediately give me the tier, because those of you who are billing for residential services, that's what you need to know, right? You want to know what the tier is. But we're more concerned about the level, because that tells us where to start the process. Once we go to determining the rate, then we're going to go back and look at the tier. Okay. And I'll get to that in a few minutes about how we figure some things out. Hey, welcome. So it's going to kind of be a little laid back in here and kind of hit things, and then we'll have some questions at the end. Everything okay? Okay. So, so a lot of people don't understand that when somebody gets the customized rate, it is not in addition to the standard rate. It replaces the standard rate altogether. So you no longer bill for that standard rate. You just put in for this customized rate, which we've had some people have a hard time understanding that and have double billed. And so it causes a lot of problems for people. So I want to make that clear. So the rate is approved by a committee. So we have committee every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to noon. And the reason for that is because we have to have a committee of experts in their field, right? In their department. So we have somebody from medical, we have an RN, or several different people from that department, behavioral services, service authorization, integrated support, and the regional support team specialist. So do you all know what those things are? Medical and behavioral are pretty self-explanatory, right? But what is service authorization? WAMs, yeah. So that's basically where you're putting in your information and saying, hey, I want you to prove this, so we can start billing for it. Well, then we also have somebody from integrated support. Does anybody know what that department does? Yeah, I didn't either. I got to tell you, I had a vague idea, but thankfully I have learned more about it. I've been with the customized rate team for 2.5 years now, so I've had to learn a lot of things, and so this is good. But these are mostly medical professionals who assess people's needs and make sure that they are getting appropriate services. So they're going to be, these are the people who send out things about,
Need some.
Will they go back in the car?
oh, I thought I did have them muted. I thought they were all muted. Hold on a sec. I'm not even sure.
After this convention.
Go to the top. Pull it
Ah,
and go over to. the other-
other side thing.
What?
Okay, and that works, right?
Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yay.
we're all learning.
Yes, we are all learning, and I appreciate the help. And I want it to be kind of laid back anyway, because I want people to feel like they can ask questions. I'm going to be as transparent as I can possibly be. Okay. So then we have the regional support specialists. Does anybody know what the regional support team does? So yeah, so they're looking at barriers to resources, and they also are the ones who oversee the SIS. Yep. So when you're asking for a new SIS, it's the regional support team that is deciding that after your support coordinator submits.
Is it the same team all the time
For our customized rate,
that meets every Wednesday?
just about, we have primary people who have decided, that they would like to participate, but we ask every department to provide one person and then a backup for when they're out, because according to the regulation, we have to have somebody from each of those teams to be part of the decision-making process. Yes. Yes. Oh, you forgot your stuff, huh?
Oh, you're good.
Okay. So let's go to the. Uh-oh, did it again. See, I muted it all. Now it's all choosing not to do what's supposed to do. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so the customized rate is approved to support the following things: 1-to-1 staffing ratio, 2-to-1 staffing ratio, a combination of those two things, specialized direct support staff, which is a staff with higher level of expertise related to the individual's needs, and then programmatic oversight, which would be kind of your management level people who have a higher level of expertise and can kind of lead the DSPs and other people in the programs that, kind of oversee to make sure everything's running properly. So you can have a person who maybe needs 2 people every day during transport, but they only need 1 person every day during regular activities. Now, I should say that the 1-to-1 and 2-to-1, these are people who have to stay within arm's reach of the individual at all times that they are providing support. So there's a lot of issues with that, because there are individuals who don't want that. And so they want some privacy, they want some alone time. And so we kind of have to talk that through and say, okay, well, if this person has, you're saying that they need a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 all waking hours. Well, we also need to look at, is that feasible? Are they going to need alone time in their room or for some other reason? So we really might need to pull that back and say, okay, well, instead of like 16 hours a day, maybe you just have 14 hours a day. You kind of figure out what exactly is going to happen, because you cannot bill for something that you are not delivering. Most people understand that, but you would be surprised to know that that's not what's happening. So one of the things that I do is I go out and do site visits. Now, because it's just me, it's not happening real quick. But of the site visits that I've been conducting, the majority have not been providing the service that's been awarded. And the reason for that, generally speaking, is anybody? Yeah, no staff. Right. So what are you supposed to do? Right. So we'll get into that a little bit. You feel free to ask me some questions about it at the end, if you don't mind. Okay, so your programmatic oversight people and your specialized people are people who have extra, not only expertise, but some of them may have degrees, some may have a license in something, even a QMHP is appropriate for some. And then we have people who don't have a degree or a license, but they are a DSP who has at least 5 years of experience working with the type of individual that the rate is being requested for. Okay, so if they have at least 5 years experience and then they have some supplemental training provided to them that is not the training that is given in the orientation process. So for example, let's say that Jane comes to us, her application comes and she has, hey there, there's a handout at the front if you're interested. I have more if there's not enough. But let's say we get Jane's application and the Jane has autism and she also has a feeding tube. Let's just leave it at that. And so you look at your staff and you say, well, I've got staff here who have over 5 years of experience but none of them have any real extra training. Well, they just might. Have they ever taken any kind of course or been provided any kind of training by your organization based on some kind of curriculum? You know, it doesn't have to be like a semester's worth. It could be a day's worth, you know. VCU has several things online that you can take for free and get certificates printed out. So it's on a case-by-case basis. But things that pertain to the medical issues or the behavioral issues, those types of extra training would make your staff reach the specialized level. So there's different levels for each thing. And when you choose specialized or you choose programmatic staffing, oversight, your rate increases because of that. So if you're just asking for the standard rate, but you want the person to be 1-to-1, that's one rate. Then if you want somebody specialized or you want some management people to kind of oversee and put more attention toward this, we look at some of their income, their salary to determine the rate. I know you're going to have questions about that. I can see the smoke brewing above heads. So you're welcome to ask me more about that. Okay, so what the customized rate is not. It is not the first choice for support. Your first choice is going to be your average waiver, okay? And then any other services, you like natural supports. A lot of people have natural supports, such as family, friends, going to church, going to the Y, being part of scouts or something else. I've heard various things like that, that, you know, may pick up some slack here and there, like they go and do these different activities. So you've got to make sure you've exhausted all your resources before you come to us for the customized rate. Crisis or temporary funding. The customized rate is not crisis or temporary funding. If the issue is temporary, then you should ask for crisis. And you go through your support coordinator who puts in an application, a very short application for crisis funding, and it is sent to DBHDS under Heather Norton's team, and they review it and decide whether approval is warranted. And then they'll cut you a check. Sounds simple, but you know it's not that simple, right? And so the customized rate is not appropriate for all individuals because sometimes the way that the rate model works we put a bunch of numbers into it, which I'm going to explain in a minute. And it pops out a number. And the number it pops out is maybe just $5 over the regular standard rate. And so you say, well, this person has all these issues, but you've only given me $2 or $3 or $5 over the rate. And excuse me, we don't have a lot of control over that. DMAS sets the rates. They provide us with the rate model that indicates what can be given for a certain person. And so that's what is implemented into this spreadsheet. It's a pre-populated spreadsheet. And there are cells there that we can change and there are cells that we can't. And, you know, if anybody understands Excel, there are little figures that, you know, computations that are behind each cell, right? So when we put in the information that is requested in the application that you give to us, then it tells us what the outcome is going to be. So if, when you call me and you say, I don't know, is it even worth it to do any of this? Should we do the rate or not? I can't tell you until we go through the process, because during the process, we're going to decide, or the team that I mentioned earlier is going to decide whether what you're asking for is appropriate, first of all. And then if they say that it is, that each of those requests for support that you have different numbers attached to them. So it all depends on so many different factors.
So let me get this right. So you have an algorithm.
Yeah.
I assume DMAS plugs in those numbers, or at least will change.
So yes, so it is created there.
You fill in the box,
Mm-hmm,
but your team, your review committee
mm-hmm.
is the one that decides whether you put anything in the box at all.
To a point. Yeah. So let me just see what my next slide was. Okay.
Oh,
Thank you. I know it is a burning question and everybody wants to know. It is something that, you know, it baffles everyone.
Removes common sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, well, let me hold that thought till I get through a little bit more, because this is not very long and I want to save time for all your questions. Okay. So the service is eligible. Now, I don't know if everybody is aware, but if you have the family and individual supports waiver, you have the community coaching, group day, in-home, and supported living available to that waiver. And therefore, you can get exceptional supports, which is the customized rate for people who are receiving those services. Okay. Community living waiver, you get all those plus the group home and sponsored residential, because that's what's on the community living waiver, right? And so you can apply for extra funding. So for our customized rate for any of the services, depending on which waiver you have. Does that make sense? Okay. So additionally, we used to do all of this by paper until let's see, I think it was October of 2020, I believe is when we went to WAMS. Prior to that, everything was paper, everything was copied, put in files, you know, it was just a hot mess. It's still a hot mess for some people who find WAMS difficult, and we can definitely appreciate that. I use it every day, so I'm pretty savvy at it, but that's not the typical person. And, you know, for that, I really am sad for that, you know. But you have to submit it in WAMS. The application has to be submitted by the waiver provider, not a parent, not a friend, not a, you know, anybody else. The case manager can't even do it, the support coordinator. It has to be the provider.
Wow, that's interesting to know, actually.
Yeah. So the case manager, support coordinator, whatever you call them in your area, they can make a recommendation that the provider submit an application, but they can't actually do anything with it themselves. So the application has to include documented evidence of what the issues are. So if there's behavioral issues, then we're going to want to see some behavioral data. there's medical issues, we're going to want to see medical data. Well, what kind of medical data? Well, it could be things from doctor appointments. It could be discharge paperwork from a hospital. Excuse me. Could be the medication administration record showing the different types of things you have to do. Because usually on there, you know, you have your seizure protocols and some other things, or you might have a separate protocol. So we need various things. Now, not everybody has everything that we ask for. And so that's where I'm here to help you, not just here in this room, but on the phone to give you direction and technical assistance to try to assist you with being able to say, okay, well, this is what you asked for, but this is what I have. I'm not sure what to do about it. Your provider guide asks for 6 months worth of behavioral data. Well, we've only had this person for 2 weeks. Or in some cases, they haven't even come to us yet. And we're trying to decide if we're even going to take this person. Can you just tell us if they would get the rate if we take them? Well, not exactly, but we do have a process for that. We call it the pre-review. And so basically, if you have someone coming to you, if you're a provider and you've been sent a referral, but it's a difficult situation and you're not sure you can take that person, you can submit to us everything that you know by filling out the application. You can't necessarily do it in WAMs because the person has to be assigned to you in WAMs for you to be able to put in the application. So we have a paper one, but it's not a true application. It is we're going through a mock process, basically. So the outcome, we can say, yes, we think that this person will get the rate, or no, we don't. And here's why. That's all that does. Yes, you can do the pre-application before they even come to you. Now, if you already have them, it's not worth it to do both. You would just want to go ahead and put in the application. So I can help you with that. Now, I said at the beginning that I'm the only one, right? But my boss, Carrie Ottoson, she takes calls as well. And I do go around the state to do site visits. However, I've been able to make appointments with providers calls. And so we talk at a certain time on a certain day, might even be the same day you call, and we'll just go over everything you want to talk about and I'll walk you through it. Okay. Because one of the things is that one of the biggest complaints is that it's too much work. I don't understand it. I'm going to do all this work and then I'm not going to get it anyway. And they're asking me for things that it's impossible to get. And it does seem that way on the outside. And since I've only been with the department for 2.5 years, I can't say what it was before I got there. But since I have been there, we have been going out of our way to try to show that we're going to work with people to try to put this application together. Okay. All right.
Behavior data on what you're looking.
Yes. Yep. So behavior data, we're looking for if they have a crisis plan, like say they were at reach for a while, or you did crisis services for them for a short period, you can give us a copy of that. If you have serious incident reports or the provider that they're coming from has serious incident reports or any kind of behavioral data, doesn't have to be from your place if these people are new to you. Okay. You can, as soon as you start getting or admit someone into your program, I suggest you start doing a very generic data collection. You know, on their ISP, everybody knows what the ISP is, the individual support plan. I would suggest you go to that and look at the main things that are let's say the behavioral issues. So elopement, hitting, property destruction. We'll leave it at that. I would suggest to you that you go to Google and get an ABC data form, just a blank one, put in property destruction. What were the other ones I said? Elopement.
Behavior.
Yes. And so put down on this date, ran from the home. This date, tried it again. This date, had to call the police because we couldn't find them. on this date, at this date and time, they pulled the TV off the wall and threw it across the room, and it's, you know.
So are you expecting all that data to graph as well?
So here's the thing with the graphing. When somebody is asking for the customized rate and it's a behavior situation, there's a behavior situation going on, we're going to immediately ask you to get a behaviorist in place. So it doesn't mean you'll have a behaviorist in place by the time it comes before us, but it means that you've started the process. You've contacted the case manager support coordinator and you have asked for it. And we would like to see, like the case manager or support coordinator, we would like for them to give you the names of 3 referrals that they have sent in, because we know there's a wait. So we want to know what are the at least 3 waiting lists that they're on. And go ahead.
So what if they had a previous plan? Would y'all require an active or current one?
So for an initial application, not an ongoing application, we call them annuals, okay? Even if it hasn't been a whole year, we call it annual. But for an initial application, we will take whatever you've got that's within the last year. Okay,
For example, how many did you do in Chesterfield? You said you went to different programs throughout the state. How many did you go to through Chesterfield?
how many applications did we get from
No.
Chester?
For the different programs. You said you used those as an example.
So you mean like site visits?
Yes, how many did you?
So site visits have just resumed about 4 months ago, 5 months ago because of COVID.
Yeah.
I did do a couple last year.
Okay.
So really a small, 2 handfuls have been done so far.
And Chesterfield itself?
Not just Chesterfield, all over the state.
And how many have you done in Chesterfield?
Maybe 4 or 5.
Good job. I'm proud of you.
Thank
And I'm
you.
proud of your boss too.
Thank you. I'll let her know. Well, our goal is to get to every provider at least once a year.
Good. Because
Yeah.
I gave you a whole bunch of names in Chesterfield that you probably haven't hit yet.
Oh, well, you can give them my number. How about that?
Smart idea.
Yeah, thanks.
I would-
How many
Thank you.
applications do you typically get in a month or a year?
Well, right there, I took a picture of it before I left because I couldn't get my computer to print before I left yesterday. So let me find we do have statistics
I'll
on.
show everyone in the, right, if you want me to pass it.
Oh, no, it's okay. I'll just do it from here. Let's see. So hold on. Okay. So 2017 is when we started. I can tell you that our approval rate, or the percentage of those approved in the first year, was 87%. In 2018, it went down to 62%. We were still at 62% in 2019. In 2020, we shot up to 85%. And we have been 85% ever since. And we already have some that are approved through 2023. What's that? So these are both annuals and initials, because some of them are, they just do initial.
Number of applicants each year.
The total number of applicants each year has gone up each year. So the first year they started out with 38 applicants
38.
in 2017.
In the state, 38.
In the state. That's the first year when everybody heard about it. Everybody started trying it. Everybody got frustrated. But let me see. 38 were submitted. 33 of those were approved. 5 were denied. Well, this is back in 2017. So let me tell you what we've got closer, and then I can tell you what the issues are. You guys are really good with this stuff and wanting to know specific things. So I hope I'm moving fast enough. It is, yeah. And I want to give you that because I think one of the things that we want is to be as transparent as we possibly can We don't want people to feel like we're the enemy or that we are just, we don't care and that we're trying to save money. We have money, there is money set aside for us to give it to those for whom it is appropriate. And so we're not trying to keep it from anybody, but we also are under scrutiny. So the people on our committee are under scrutiny. We have to explain why something was approved or why it was denied. And so the explanation cannot be, well, this just sounds like a really hard case. And even though they don't have anything we need or what they've submitted doesn't look right, well, let's just give it to them anyway. Well, we can't because that is government money. And if we do that, each person on the committee is in some trouble. Okay, that's kind of one of the things. So it's not a matter of us thinking somebody doesn't deserve something. It's a matter of how do we prove it? How do we put it on paper? Because the federal government, state government is all about paper, a paper trail, not literal paper anymore, but it's about a paper trail to explain why something is happening, why they need it and all that. Okay. So total applicants in 2019 is 214. Of those, 133 were approved, 61 denied, and 20 were withdrawn. We do. So I don't have the denials because I've just got a chart of the numbers right now.
We can follow up with you about this.
Yes, you can. Yeah, we have given information about denials, and I can go into that a little further right now as far as some of the things that I see. Yes. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
42, because it's such a strong.
Yeah. 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 Right.
So you're saying, what? They say. Say it's not standing, because I hear that sometimes.
They say that stops them from getting it?
They what we need.
No, that's not, yeah. That's a misunderstanding.
Fashion rate, because there's so much pressure.
Right.
People,
Mhm.
it's my. Making it.
Yes.
Not getting service in your area, you're on my wait list. If someone calls up.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes. Thing number one, I want to go back to what you said. The graphing should be done by the behaviorist, not by, okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yes, for the sake of everybody here, we don't expect providers to do their own graphing, although some do it all the time. And I'm like, okay, if you want to try to do it, but it's before they have a behaviorist that they usually do that. Now, secondly, what we do if we have an initial application, okay, we're trying to get somebody set up with customized rate and they don't have behavioral services yet, we are going to say to you, okay, start taking your own data as providers, just a basic, take some raw data. And then you're going to supply us with what you've got by the time the committee reviews it. What we can do as the committee, well, I should say I'm not part of the direct committee. I run the committee with Carrie. What we can do though is give you a short-term approval. We call it contingent. So it can be. And I feel that things have not been positive experiences for people. And I promise you that I am here this is part of why I wanted to come out and speak. This was not something that is mandated. I asked to come out and present to different places because I want people to understand that I am there for you. My supervisor, Carrie, she's not as social as I am, so to speak, in some ways, but she wants people to have this information. And so she was all excited. Go ahead, go to anything you can go to try to tell people what's available so that we can get it for them. Okay. So yes, getting a contingent review is a slippery path for some. However, it may seem that way. However, if the committee says we'll approve this for 6 months, they can they can pick anything. They can pick a month all the way up to 11 months to make it a contingent review. Anything less than the ISP year is contingent. And during that time, they will give you a notice of action. And it says, okay, we've approved you for this much for this person, this many hours of 1-to-1, 2-to-1, whatever you asked for that the committee felt was appropriate. And then you go ahead and you do your service authorization. But by this such and such date, let's say it's 6 months, by this date, we want you to submit these things. We either need behavioral data from a behaviorist or to see a behavior plan from a behaviorist, or we just need some kind of email or written document that indicates we're on a waiting list. Here's where we are on the waiting list. We finally got somebody, but they just started doing, what is it called? The evaluation you do beforehand. The assessments, yeah. Nathan calls it something else. I always forget, but let us know that you are working on it. The nurse might say, okay, for medical issues, I think you need to have this done, a swallow test, this and that and the third. Why don't you have private duty nursing or other waiver nursing supports? And so they might ask you for a few things, and that's all you do for the contingent. You don't put in a whole new application for a contingent approval. At the end of the period, you only submit what the committee asked for. Then they review it again, and they'll say, okay, what they've submitted is enough to substantiate what they're asking for. We're going to extend this for a full year. Now, if you go ahead.
So the behaviors decrease because that's
Mhm.
support.
Yep.
And you're presenting the data showing
Mhm.
behaviors are stable, but they're stable because of them.
Yes. So this is where you have to get creative with your staff. Okay. So a lot of people, the staff that you don't have. Yes. Well, hopefully, because the standard rate has gone up so much that when we get the customized rate, it's going to be a lot higher. You don't think so?
The cost of gas to drive here from Sterling, Virginia took all that, so.
Yeah. It's never going to be perfect for everybody, and I get that. And I had nothing to do with setting the rates myself.
Okay.
Oh, yes, right. I'm going to answer your question in just 1 second. Yeah.
Yeah. I understand. Is what? I know that why you now on my case. This is my anniversary. I understand, but this Governor Youngkin doesn't recognize me. Youngkin is trying to help people with disabilities. He doesn't know my story is. I understand because I get the biggest waiver in Virginia. I understand people has no waivers. I got the biggest hit. That's what I explain to other people like this one. This is what we're talking about. But right now, got the biggest waiver I never have in state Virginia. Because 14 years ago, I won my case. And even I'm on YouTube, I've been on the websites, I've been Virginia board, I'm a for advocacy, positive discussion, network, scope of messengers. And to be honest with you, please don't get mad at me. I'm trying so much of how to get this waiver done, but this one doesn't know my story. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us know all that.
Jenny, they're not trying to get mad at, they understand what they're saying, but they're trying to fight for
She's okay.
Jenny, but they're trying to fight for them too. Just
Thank you
look out.
both. Thank you both. I appreciate it. And you're Jenny?
Yes.
Hi, Jenny. So Jenny, yeah, if that's what she's comfortable with, sure. Well, thank you for saying all that. And it sounds like you've been through a lot. And it is her anniversary today, by the way, because she told me. So lot of times we see that when providers are collecting data, and sometimes behaviorists don't know to do what I'm about to tell you. So what we ask is that the raw data that you ask for some staff to take based on a behavior. Okay, so let's say it's what, cursing, what would you call that in general? Just foul language or something. What's that? Appropriate language, whatever. So a lot of people will only, the staff will only make a tick, check a box, whatever they are supposed to put down. They'll only put that down when the individual cusses or says something out of line, or, you know, that's really ghastly. So what we're saying is you want to start to teach your staff. I know this is a whole nother thing that I'm going into. You want to teach your staff. I know hopefully you're going to have more time, but we want to teach the staff to also make those little tick marks when they prevent it from happening. Because your staff, if you are familiar with somebody that you work with, right? You know when they're about to amp up.
Now, that's new information to me.
Well, that's me. That's my information because of what I have learned at different places I have worked. But this has worked. I have given this information to numerous providers. But it is important that they put a tick mark whenever they prevented it. So maybe you have, yes, but somewhere, yes, but in that behavior plan is usually written something like, here are the antecedents to look for. Here are the issues to look for. Sorry, we're running a little bit over. We'll just be another couple minutes, but you're welcome to come inside. So yeah, so you want to have your staff differentiate between something actually happening and something that they prevented from happening, because then your graphs are going to look a whole lot different if you're actually showing, because a lot of times what DMAS has asked us for in the notes and things is to talk about the things that you do, that DSPs don't write enough about what they actually do. And it's like, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? That's one of the things it means. Okay. And so that will work for us, and that will help you continue, because if your staff aren't intervening to prevent the behavior, well, then maybe they really don't need it anymore. But 9 times out of 10, it's just because they've gotten good at recognizing it, right? Yeah, and I can assist you with that. I think I brought my cards with me. I grabbed them, but I don't remember if I stuck them in the bag. But you're welcome to call me. I'm gonna have to skip ahead a bit. It is on there. Yeah, we're pretty much done, but there's the, that's my phone number. You can set up an appointment for me to actually come out to your facility, to the group home or whatever. And we can look at stuff one-on-one. We can do it over a Zoom call. Actually pretty quick with some of this stuff, unless I'm doing something like I'm doing today. I usually try to answer people the same day or the next day and set up an appointment at the very least. And usually I can do that within the week or the following week. Okay. So yeah, I want to be careful because I don't want to go into somebody else's time, but go ahead.
Yeah, make a big, just some of the providers that apply very early on. And we're denied without affiliation with the last years. You've been really good with helping us as providers at what we need.
Yay. Yeah.
Tools where the individuals aren't having, need more people. But it's needs to be tracked for that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I really do, because I really do want to help people to get this. Go ahead.
Too much, I'm going real fast. Customized rate application have to be submitted for every. If they multiple programs, like say they're.
Yes.
But they go to day support, but they.
Yes.
Services.
Yeah, unfortunately, the way it's set up is every program, even if you have all those programs under your business, You have to do a separate application for each service. Yeah. But once you get it down, yeah, you can. But you've got to tweak it so that it fits where it's the location you're asking for. So you can cut and paste some things. You got some stuff on a Word document, because WAMS doesn't stay open for me either. So if, I have stuff over here and I cut and paste after I do a review with a provider. Because I know I only got just a few minutes before it's going to go boop, everything's gone. You have to start over. So I say to providers, you can cut and paste from previous applications. That's not a problem, as long as you are updating that information, because it should not be exactly the same as the previous year. Okay. We can also set up something. I'm going to be doing something like this in each region. So I've got the names of some places like a library, a community center in different places. So that's my next set of trips, is once that is set up, I will be coming out and we will set it out on the listserv so that you know where it is and where to come. So we can like really go in depth for a couple of hours if it takes that.
Let's do it.
So according to what they were saying in the main session,
Mm-hmm.
it's hopefully, fingers crossed, that it's actually gonna work.
Uh-huh.
It's eventually all medical records, all of this stuff we're talking about, is eventually you're going to be doing it one time and then you just update. Was that what we're kind of talking about?
So yes and no, and that's still like a big, long discussion that's being had behind the scenes, and nobody's really made a definite decision about that. But we're going to try to figure it out as best we can. And as far as the customized rate is concerned, I'm going to give you little shortcuts that you can take that any of us can use. As we go, like I told you, you can cut and paste some things that are the same, or you can pull some things from the ISP and paste it into what's being asked in the application. What I have found with providers is that once they go through it with me one solid time, they got it. They usually have it, because I am able to explain it in a way that I think is more understandable and that you can follow the reasoning behind it. We didn't get to really talk about the rate model, but the rate model itself has, it asks us for Northern Virginia, rest of state. And then there's computation behind that. There's a formula. Asks us, what is the CIS level? Asks us how many beds you are licensed for where that person lives. This is for residential, but you can also get it for all kinds of day services. Okay. So it asks us a whole lot of things. And then it asks for the hours that you're requesting. And are they standard hours or specialized hours? Are you asking for one staff or two staff? Are you asking for one for this many hours and two for that many hours? So you can see how there's just so many combinations. There's no way to know. The one we can know is for the day services, group, any kind of residential services, it's all kind of out there. For the day support services, it's a standard rate. If you get the customized rate, you're pretty much going to get just the same rate for no matter what size the thing is. It just depends on the level of the CIS. Yeah. Yes.
Now.
So it's just to clarify, because I'm not sure if you're saying this or not, but it is not part of the ISP meeting and all that itself. It's a separate entity, but the approvals are within your ISP dates. Okay. It could be. Yeah. So you have to do this yearly if you are approved for a year. Sometimes it is electronic, and you can upload electronic records that support you instead of having to, scan it and send it in on an email. Yeah. I really want you to take my number, and Carrie is also going to be able to answer any questions. She's very, very helpful. So we don't have anything to do with divides. All we do is take a look at applications. Well, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. I didn't expect so many people, so thank you.